Morning, call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, and welcome to the August 13th, 2024 Commissioners Meeting of Pipestone County. Present are Luke Johnson, Doug Nagel, Dan Wildermuth, Chris Hollingworth, myself, Dallas Roskamp as commissioners, Steve Ewing as county administrator, Carrie Menace as county HR. Is there any adjustments to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I have two additions, if I may, please. On consent agenda, item 3 commissioners warrants, we have add-on warrants this morning of $13,679.85. $13,679.85, and you did get a copy of that in the packet this morning. Under other business, I would like to present an appointment of a new ditch committee, recommend appointment of a new committee member for retirement on that committee.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, with that adjustment, I'll move the agenda.
How about this meal reimbursement thing? Does that have to go?
Nation.
Okay. Is there support? Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. It's carried. And the consent agenda, approve the minutes of 7/23/24, approve auditors warrants of 7/26/24, 8/2/24, 8/9/24. Approve commissioners warrants of $13,679.85. Approve hospital warrants of $686,316.28. Approve treasurer's report of July 2024.
Mr. Chair, I'd move for approval.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second by Chris. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That carried. Nick Bergman, County Engineer. Morning, Nick.
All right, first up for me would be project updates, and update I have is that the County Road 17 project is underway now. So the tile has been installed and they've got the first lift of gravel in for about 1.25 miles in yesterday when I stopped mid-afternoon. So they probably ended up over 2 miles, I'm guessing. So there'll probably be 3 lifts, I'm guessing. So if anybody says, well, it's not 6 inches, you know,
It's
on
coming.
multiple layers, so they'll be back. So that's it for updates there. Next up would be updating resolution. It's same thing you've seen before and approved multiple times, but it looks a little bit different. The state has like a cookie cutter resolution format they'd like us to use now. So the information's all the same, but it might be formatted a little bit different. And this just says that, you know, that you're aware of the project and approving it. Without this, we can't get our state funds. So
Exactly where is this, Nick?
one of them's in Eden Township.
I mean, the first one that's gonna 26.
18.
Yep. Actually, I think that has a typo on it. I think that bridge number should be 59,519, not 159.
59,519.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. Yep, that one.
Do you have an address for that or a general area too? 61st Street, it says on the next.
Yeah, that's different, but it's. Actually, can we table that? I want to make sure I got the right number, because if we send it in with the wrong number, they'll just kick it back, so. Okay. Shoot, I didn't notice that before, but that might be the wrong number, so I'll bring that back.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and move that we approve resolution 59/18/24, understanding that Nick needs to do some double checking on that table.
Second.
That's fine, then I'll just bring in whatever the correct number is, but yeah, I think that's the wrong order on the numbers, but. Right, that's what's giving me pause, but I'm not sure if that's, we may have had approval for that a while back, and this might just happen to be the same in a different order. I wanna double check with that back at the office, so.
Yeah, the other piece of paper we have has got 59519.
Yep, I know that's the right number there.
Okay.
But this could happen to be the same numbers, just in a different order, but I wanna. Seems like too much of a coincidence, so I wanna double check that, but, otherwise, yes, this is just saying that the board's aware that we wanna do the project and that we have your approval, so.
I think there was a motion on the, was there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That's carried.
All right, next up, this is a bridge. For Osborne Township, they requested we replace, it's on 61st Street, about a half mile east of our County Road 17. It's currently posted. Been in failing condition, I guess, for a while. I think I talked last meeting that this was coming, that we need to hire a design consultant, and this gets reimbursed through the state funding, but either way, still need board approval. We sent this out to 5 firms. 2 of them are not bidding. I'm not entirely sure why. One of them is tied up working on the dam over by Mankato. And these other 2 did submit bids. I've had very good luck with both of these firms. I'd be happy with either of them, but to me, we could just as well go with the low bid. I think they both do fine work, but so I'm recommending going with Erickson Engineering.
Make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second for that?
I will second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Carried.
Right. Next update, Troy Township, bridge funding. They have a very large, very expensive box culvert south of their town hall, and we were just notified that we got over 700,000 in special township bridge funding for that. So that's just like a bonus grant, above and beyond our allotment. Fantastic news, so.
Do you think that'll cover 100% of it?
No, it won't. There's some local participating, but I mean, this is. I hate to guess what percentage it is, but it's really, really, really high.
Terrific.
So this is great news, so, yep. And that's a product of, how we've, as a county, chosen to do things, like we've been working ahead on, having table-ready projects, and to me, that's the only reason this got funded is because we had it shelved and ready, so, with your support, we'd like to keep doing it that way, I think it's been working great for us, so. Perfect. My next update, not what I was hoping to tell you, but, the Stone Arch Bridge, we got past the point where the time capsule was supposedly located and we did not find it.
Didn't find it, okay.
No, but I'm really disappointed because I was really. Find it, but-
Well, you can get yourself a Carter's Grove tobacco can and put a couple things in it and stick it in there if you'd like.
So we actually took a sample can, about that big
Yeah.
around with the cap, that we had an extra one and we put some stuff in there. We put it back in the bridge, so it's got one now and this one.
But it's a,
Find the old one, we got one now, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. I just really have my heart set on. Really cool to have some pictures of that, but no, I talked to the guy that knows something about it and he told me right where it was at, like, no, not there. So.
No.
So I don't know what happened to it, but disappointing, but whatever is what it is, so. But we got one in there now and I've got pictures of it. So. All right, next for me would be some maintenance updates.
well, Nick, if I could go
Yep.
back to Stone Arch Bridge, then so
Yep.
more of an update as far as the progression on it, where we.
The east rail is done, completely rebuilt. I sighted down it. I think it looks absolutely awesome. Like we have pictures we could show we were measuring every year how much it was bowing. You know, we'd string line from end to end, you could see how bad it was getting, and now it's just straight as an arrow. It's awesome. West side, they are just about wrapped up rebuilding that one. East side, they're done tuck pointing. West side, I'm not sure how far along they are on tuck pointing. I know they've been working on it. I took a video of it, so if things work out, I'd like to do some type of slideshow with all my pictures of it. I mean, I've probably got a couple hundred pictures of what's going on, but I can show a video of what that process is, so. 3 seconds long, so it's not much, but
Another 30 days, 60 days before it's all completely finished.
I don't even want to guess because I've never been part of this before. Really just be guessing, but I'd say whatever the original completion date was, plus a couple weeks because of the flooding, how that sent it back.
Seeing how this is such a unique thing and such a historic thing and also location down there, have you given any thought to maybe doing a little press thing and maybe a little ribbon cutting, that kind of thing?
We've talked about that a little bit. They say that happens quite a bit, so if that's something you guys would like, we can kind of keep that in mind, and I think it'd be cool.
We'll show up for that.
That
We'll show up for that.
I'll kind of plan on that then. It might be kind of hard. I did talk with them already. It might be kind of hard to pin down a date on that. It might be fairly short notice of when we actually do that, because, you know, probably it's not like we can just pick a date right now. You know, it might be a week's notice type of thing, like it'll be.
And it wouldn't necessarily have to be the exact day that the first traffic goes across. It could be within that first week.
Well, that's fine. That'd be easier then.
Plan it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Get a little good ink out of it. All right, guys, give me something to write about.
Yep. Yep. And if any of you want to see it sometime, you know, let me know. I'll take you down there. They got the floating dock set up underneath yet. We could go underneath.
Yep.
I could give you a good look at it, but. So yeah, that's where they're at. They're about done with the west rail. They'll have to finish up, tuck pointing on the west side. And then I think they're gonna peel the road off it and work on that waterproofing membrane along with the tile. And I believe he said after they get, I think he wanted to get that short up first, and then they're gonna do the the arch, so.
How well did the stone clean up on the outside? You talked about the mineral deposits and so forth. That's gonna still be a little remnants that left on there.
Yeah, as well as we had hoped, but you know, we're only authorized to clean a certain way. You know, they had some historians down saying you can run up to, I think, this many PSI with this style nozzle, so that's all we can do. And I watched them do a bunch, and they didn't, you know, they sat and did everything they could on these spots. So I mean, they definitely put enough effort in for what they were allowed to do, so.
I would think that over the years, with no more mineral coming through, that the weather is gonna just naturally clean it as well too.
It might, I hope so. You know, when I was underneath there one day after a rain, I kept getting dripped on, you know, it was dripping through everywhere.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's where it comes from. I actually have a few pieces of those mineral deposits at the office. I'll bring them in sometime so you can see what it is and how they've grown over, how they've grown over the years is pretty impressive. It's like, wow, it takes many, many gallons of water to do that. But, yeah, hopefully with that waterproofing membrane, those don't grow anymore, so. Doesn't come back, I should say. Right, maintenance updates, not much, pretty boring for this month. Just we worked on some shouldering. A couple paved roads needed some shouldering, did some graveling. I think we're pretty much done with our flood cleanup. There might be a little bit of ditch cleaning left, but otherwise I would say we're done with that, so.
Working in some new people.
Yep, well, one started a week or two ago, and then we got another one starting, I can't remember, Monday. Okay, so coming right up, so. So, yeah.
You down one yet then?
Yeah, we need to do one more maintenance worker that will be full staffed.
And your other worker from his military activation is back?
He's back, yep,
Great.
yeah, so we're been kind of busy with transition back to getting him up to speed, so that's been time consuming too.
All ready for the snowfall.
Yeah, he'll be ready by then. Yeah, yeah.
Not yet, Dana.
Now I did it.
Not yet.
I guess that's it for me.
Any other questions for Nick?
All right. Good.
Thanks, Nick.
Yep, and out to the projects. So.
You didn't take near long enough.
No. Never know.
No, no.
Personnel, Gary, are you ready for?
All right.
Morning, Gary.
Good morning. So just a few updates in the HR department. We posted for that third highway worker position and we got 0 applicants. Wah. Leave that open and see what happens. I'm probably butchering this name, Corey Hakala in the sheriff department, resigned. His last day will be August 25th. So we will be posting for that position today if I can get it done. We're gonna extend an offer for the part-time highway accountant position. I want to get that done today. We have a few questions on job. It was a job share situation in the past. Not sure, that's not how we advertise, so need to define and make sure we have a plan for that. I think we have some interviews coming up for highway, like a technician or engineering technician. There were 2 applicants, so we're gonna interview both. I haven't started on that yet. I'm a little behind from the MPELRA conference last week, so attended that in Brainerd and we talked a lot about ESST changes to compliance and then the paid leave, of course, coming up. So got to meet the guy from Vermont that is organizing and designing that program and it's gonna be really interesting. Let's just say that. So it's gonna run a lot like the unemployment program where the employee and the employer have a contribution amount. They said to be prepared for collective bargaining on what that shared portion will be. And there's still a few questions about, they had this great graphic up about puzzle pieces like, oh, short-term disability, vacation, sick time, ESST, and this. It's like, they say, when people are out for their 20 weeks or whatever, that they can't make more than what they would make 100% of their wage, which I think is super generous. And they only have a certain hundreds of millions to fund this in the first year. And I'm a little bit concerned that they might run out of money if they don't with their premiums. So that I have for updates. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Gary?
Was this your first conference then?
It was.
Experience? Did you get to meet other colleagues?
I met a lot of people, a lot of people with bigger counties,
Oh, sure.
and I met some city folks. I talked a lot about AS 400. Found out some information on that. Yesterday at the hospital, I was excited to hear that they're transitioning to Workday for their payroll. So, ooh, I'm jealous of that. But yeah, it was good. I brought my husband and my daughter with, and my husband paid the extra fees for my daughter to do crafts every day with all the little kids, and she rode the banana boat. Oh my God, she's 19, so like she's not a little kid. Loves to do that stuff. So we had a good time. There were a lot of great restaurants. I went to the Christmas store.
Oh,
I-
awesome. Glad you got to make an experience out of it.
Yeah,
That's great.
great.
It's really pretty up there.
Very nice part of the state.
Anybody else? Thanks, Gary. Thanks. Kyle has joined us. We're ready.
Morning.
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 Just a couple things today. First thing, the building committee, there's a proposal from Architecture Inc.
to do a feasibility study for, USDA expansion on the current building. The proposed estimate is $15,000, 6 to 8 weeks to get it done. We're wanting to have this done so that we've got some background if and when the USDA bid would ever come up, to know that we would be able to add on to the building. So get some preliminary plans, hopefully. Steve and I met with our individual and with Mitchell, and they were very receptive to that, so. Any questions or comments from the building committee?
The bonus to that is having all that in the same location.
Correct, yep. What we were kind of anticipating, or what I threw together, was a meeting area in the middle, and then a USDA wing to the kind of the southeast. So they were put together parking lot, space requirements, things like that. They weren't gonna do any soil borings. And we don't have detailed USDA requirements to put any specific plans together, but more of just a general layout.
Do you have any idea if it's gonna cost effective?
If what?
If it's gonna be cost effective for us to build a building to rent out to them?
I think that would be up to you based on what you would want to charge for rent or propose to charge.
Do you know what they pay at the city now or
It's very minimal,
minimal?
yes. But I would, it's a 10-year lease, is what they're going with now. And I can't see it not being beneficial for the county to invest into that and have the revenue from the rent for 10 years.
And for convenience sake, I see great benefits for it.
Right.
A lot of times you go, when it was down here at the same place, you go to one side of this aisle and then you go to the other side or go back and forth. So.
Right.
I understand the convenience part, but Dan, you.
Yeah, on the cost effectiveness of it, and we discussed this before on the building committee. And when we'd looked at this with USD before, when we had talked about possibly sharing a building, the per square foot reimbursement rate at that time was quite attractive.
Well, it was gonna cost, we were proposing to co-locate with them, and it was gonna increase our rent drastically,
Right.
so,
Yep.
yes.
So using that as a barometer, I don't think we can really look at what they're paying up at the city building. It's not apples to apples. It looks like they reimburse quite reasonably, so.
Yep. And I don't know what the costs will be. I mean, that's kind of what this study is for, is to give you guys an idea of what's practical or what's not for you to make a better decision.
How long
Obviously,
is
we
their
don't wanna do
lease?
it if it doesn't cash flow, but
How long is their lease right now? Or do you-
Right now, it's kind of just, they're just going year by year, I believe, right now.
Year by year on a 10-year or something?
No, right now, it's just a year by year until it's come back up for lease. It sounds like, according to the director at FSA, they are putting it back on the docket for going back out for lease sometime, but that's not anything that we are involved with. It's all based on Washington DC, so.
Mhm.
Kyle, you also mentioned to the building committee that they do look at input from their employees, and their employees have indicated that they would like another facility. Did I understand that correctly?
Correct. They've done an assessment and they would prefer to get out of the current leased building. I was referring to the office layout more so as far as getting input from the local.
Oh, yes.
Then they would have a chance to do some of their deciding which way the layout.
How they
would
want
be.
the building laid out, correct.
So it would really be kind of a build to lease deal.
Yep. Mhm. Right.
That's.
Exactly.
I think it's also worth noting as well, too, and we talked about again with the building committee, that yes, it is a $15,000 investment. But we need to be ready. So if
If that
and when the
happens.
day comes that we're ready to move forward, otherwise we're going to be behind on this.
Right.
And also, if for some reason it never does materialize, it's not like this study is going to be wasted. This study can still be used going forward for other items as well, too. So as a member of the building committee, I was very satisfied at this, and I would recommend to the full board that we do approve this. I think it's going to be very useful.
It just gave me a little pause.
There's that a motion?
Yeah, I'll make that a
I'll
motion.
second
Terry,
the
yeah.
motion. Okay.
It just gave me a little pause when I found this in my packet. We just got done building that.
That's right. That's right. That was my first reaction too, but when Kyle explained it
Well,
more, that this is
that-
for
That's what these meetings are for.
planning ahead of time, exactly.
That's. Any other questions for Kyle about this?
Just a comment. The last time that they had talked about doing this, as was kind of mentioned, the timeline's really short that they give you, when they want to do something. I mean, they'll drag it out for years to
Yep.
try to make a decision as to what they're gonna do, but when the time actually comes,
Got 6 months to do it, huh?
no, less.
6
It-
weeks?
It was only, it was about 6 or 8 weeks or some very short timeline where you had to have
Do you have
your,
any time at all?
bid in or proposal in or whatever. I mean,
I think it's about a 2-week window. They're requesting interested bidders, and then after that, then they send out, my understanding, the detailed packet. And then it's another year or two before you actually get it all completed. So it's not like it needs to be ready to be built. I mean, immediately, you still have to go through that design phase, the approval phases, and then the construction phases. So I mean, it's a couple year process, even if they were to go out soon, before anything would ever be finalized or built.
but just that window where you can apply,
Submit your interest.
right,
quote,
was
right.
pretty short.
Yep.
And Kyle, at our building and grounds meeting, didn't I understood that we would actually have the lease in hand before we would build.
Yes.
Isn't how we said
Yeah,
that?
we
Yeah.
wouldn't stick our neck
Right.
out and build anything
Right.
prior to
That's where
having
we-
something
we're-
secured.
We're safe until that
Yep.
time would come. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to do that.
Well, I just want to make sure that
That's right.
everybody knew that. So, yeah.
But we're one step on the plan here. Alrighty, you ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That's carried.
The second thing I've got is just looking for board acceptance of the operation and maintenance observation checklist. Crans Dam review for annual inspection.
Mr. Chair, I'd move for approval and I have a question.
Do we need to approve this?
I'll second.
Yes.
Did the spraying get done or?
Tom Sano, who does the county ditch, did also go up to Manette Crans. He said he did do some of the willows along the edge of the water, and also on the plunge pool on the backside of the reservoir. So he thought he got a pretty good job done. I was also considering, if it isn't a great job, I was gonna possibly hire a drone to do some of the edge work. I was talking to the highway shop. They were having a difficult time with, the four-wheeler and getting things around down there. So for a few $100s, I think it would be beneficial to hire a drone and just have it done.
Sure.
So that was my future plan if it's needed. So
Then was somebody gonna do the trash rack?
the trash rack is not just a simple fix. I've been out, Doug,
This
you've
is
been out
something you have
there.
to go in a boat
Many
or
times,
something?
No, you almost need to have it rebuilt. Right now, it's just rebar that sticks over top of the concrete inlet pipe.
Okay.
And there is no way to just put a clamp on there.
You'd have to anchor it to the concrete.
Right.
Somehow, which you'd have to remove the trash cover, probably add some brackets or something.
Yeah, I thought maybe we
It can be
could,
done, but it's a job. Yeah.
I thought maybe we get like a big hose clamp and clamp it. I just don't know what,
Yeah.
Area 2 suggested maybe talking to another trash rack vendor that makes ones that are able to be clamped on. This one has never been secured.
It's always been that way.
Yeah.
For
And you get people that jump on it and then it gets tilted and,
sometimes the big rains disturb it too.
right.
Yeah.
So that's not a simple fix.
So there are trash rack vendors. Huh?
We talked about maybe trying to drive some signposts down in. I don't know how soft everything is, but drive or a few signposts in to tie it to or something like that, but just to get by.
That would-
Go alongside the concrete.
That would work great.
Like something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's not very deep there. You can, wade
Right,
out.
no, you can walk
Right.
out there, yeah, in waders, yeah.
Yep.
Guess for just discussion, just like to point out again with the recent rain events we've had, again, it just really illustrates, even though this seems really mundane for us, how important it is to really stay on top of these dams.
Yep, trees and rodents are the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Carried.
Last thing, Ace Signs are in putting up the sign as we speak.
Are they?
So
Excellent.
it's pretty done. If you wanna drive by and take a peek at it after the meeting.
Cares get out there yet?
Yours has not been out there, no.
Okay, that's not a big deal.
He doesn't need to be there when they set it because he can get into it to pull right in. Yep.
Yeah, he has to wire it after it's installed anyway, so.
No, it looks real nice. I saw it this morning.
Okay.
And Jared has been notified too that they need to get it done, so.
And I was out yesterday, with the surveyor. They were digging up some half-mile markers. I sent that email out to everyone.
On the monuments.
On the monuments, right. It's very interesting. I mean, it's not too difficult. They just find a stake or the middle of that where it's supposed to be at, dig down gradually, you get down about 2 feet, and they'll possibly find a stone. Yesterday, when I was out there, they found a little wood spike that was driven in with a nail on top of it, that they assumed was the replacement marker. And then there was a steel spike above that. So it's interesting. It's kind of search and discovery.
Did highway help him dig those or?
No, he's got a D&G, I think, from Marshall is just right out there to help. So
Okay.
they've done it long enough together that they're pretty consistent. So sounds like things are going very well. Expects to do more than what was anticipated. So
Good.
he'll be coming in later this fall, winter,
Give us a report.
give a presentation on and slideshow on what's happening. So
Good.
Any surprises on location so far? They've been pretty much where they anticipated they'd be.
yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't know all the details, but yeah, I think it's going well.
You haven't had to move a road yet, huh? That's good.
So that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle. And we're moving right along. Wayne.
Good morning.
Morning, Wayne.
Hey, we got, bid for windows for law enforcement. Just the law enforcement windows and the entryway windows was 95,384, but that includes tax. Tax stuff will be coming off that, but. The other bid this is from WL Hull Company out of Hopkins, Minnesota, and, I did have one from Vikings Glass back in 5/29 of 23. That was 72,000. And when I contacted them, they don't even want to do a bid until next year. They're that far behind. And this company will be March of 25 where they can get at it. And then we do have a bid for the entryway glass, the skylights. And that is $30,081. That's the tax. And that's just putting the glass back in. If you want to do it fancier, then it's a bid for $50,873. And that glass you can't see through. It's more like the armory next door.
Mr. Chair. So then when the building committee met with Wayne on this, went through it, as far as the entry area there, the 30,000. The difference between the translucent glass and this glass, we felt it wasn't worth it all. So, I feel very comfortable, going forward with this project. I know we talked different ideas of what else we could do up there, but I hate spending $30,000, but in reality, I don't think we could do anything any different, really much cheaper. So to replace that glass, I feel comfortable with this. Doug?
Yes, I agree. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
Basically gonna restore it.
Yeah. And then in regards to the 95,000 for all the other windows, Wayne has worked on this for how many years? And we know,
Probably 5.
yeah. And with Viking Glass and I know they're very busy and so forth. So I appreciate that you found another vendor and they can get this into their schedule. So I also, and we know how important it is because that again, that was built back in the mid-70s. It's time. So I also feel very comfortable with this project as well too.
Is that gonna interfere with the roofing project or the roofing project?
Roofing project, mid-September.
mid-September.
Yep.
So that roofing project would be all done before we mess with windows. That would be good, just in case something happens.
Were these costs in the budgeted for this year?
We have a certain amount in our building fund anyway, don't we?
I'll make the motion to approve the skylight restoration minus the sales tax apparently. And then also the window replacement and law enforcement, same thing, minus the sales tax.
Okay, good.
And I would second that.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Carried.
Okay, I'm just gonna give you a rundown of updates. KOH radio station, they poured concrete outside of the show arena. And next year, they're gonna put a power lift door in there. So during the fair, they could open that up and they'll broadcast underneath that. And they're paying for all that. And then, Pipestone Helping Farmers, they are gonna do something with the sandbox. They are gonna put concrete under the sandbox and then put a roof over it. And they're paying for all that.
Good.
Okay, then, grandstand lights are all LEDs now. That's completely done. Open class building. I just put the new LED lights in there and then the fair board paid for, the fans in there, which really helped in that building to
That was
move
a
some air.
great addition as a.
Yeah, it will move air.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's a lot of fans there.
But he said he had them up to 90% that one day, so.
Yes,
But
yep.
makes-
Most of the time they're right around 50, 60.
Yeah.
But then when it gets really hot, then yeah, you can open them up. And then, the horse barn, the hydrant there is leaking. But it's only when it turns it on, so it's the hydrant itself.
So you have to dig.
Pick that up. But they kind of want there with water there all the time. Then we did have to dig across from the show arena across.
And put.
Otherwise, it's just hooked on to the wash rack.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's worth digging across. Putting a new line in there completely,
I don't know what you're gonna hit too.
well, there's a lot of power lines,
Power lines, drain lines.
drain lines.
Yeah.
How soon do you need to address that? I assume you got the water shut off now, so it's not
It,
continuing.
it only leaks when they turn the hydrant on.
Okay.
So if they're not using the hydrant, it don't leak
Okay.
and the water's on. So it's the hydrant itself that's cracked.
Wayne, I may be not following you, what you said with, you just need a new hydrant.
Yes.
What else were you saying about that?
Well, they'd like to have water there all the time. So
Is
that
it-
we'd have to run from the show
it-
arena across to
Isn't it
there.
there all the time?
It is in the summertime, but it's not.
Oh, I
Here,
see.
They turn
I
it
see.
on. They turn it on.
Well, you could be with the hydrant. You can use a hydrant in the winter, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But do they need it in the winter?
Probably not. I
Is there anything going on in the winter? No.
We'll just be replace that. And then, acre grant this year was $10,175. We replaced the two other horse barn doors on the east side. Then I replaced the 3 sheep barn doors on the south side. The grant was $10,175. And Midwest Overhead Door out of Edgerton did the doors. And that come up to $13,984. The grant covered most of that. The fair budget.
In regards to the Moo building, I know we've discussed before and appreciate
yeah.
that window and so
Yeah.
forth changed out this last year, but yeah, you're working on a plan to come forward to us as
It's-
far as.
So far, the pre-bids for the bathrooms is gonna be over 100,000.
Bathrooms are a mess and the kids took good care of them this year, boy.
Yeah, they really, yeah, they beat on them this year.
I was walking toward it and Saturday night and one kid says, don't go in there. I said, if I could catch you, I'd ask a little more questions, but I couldn't.
Vandalism, you think?
Yep.
And moving forward, I know we talked about this before too, with the blue building, though, we have to take a look at, we have an all-encompassing plan there, not just the bathrooms, because the rest of that building needs to work as well too. And I know there's been some discussion also about, aquariums again. I don't know if there's some mobile aquariums that they could come in.
They can, yeah.
So a lot of different parts. So I guess I just encourage you to keep that on the back of your mind.
I got some people that want to put up a different building just for that
Yep,
and keep it out of the blue building.
right.
So there's not room in there.
Mhm.
So just encourage you
Yeah.
to keep that in your foremind and
And they run out of storage at the fair all the time. The sheriff department is taking care of using up all the storage and so either somebody needs new storage, either the sheriff department or the fair board. Do you want to bring up the insurance issue or shall I do it on committee report?
We did have a problem with insurance this year. Usually we pay $700 for a $2 million liability for people in the grandstand that are not in the grandstand, they're in the infield. And we heard some rumors because of tractor pulls, the insurance was going way up. So then we said, well, maybe we shouldn't insure the tractor pull, but he got a bid first, was $3,500.
That was
It went
6
from
weeks ago,
700 to 3,500. And then all of a sudden,
2 days before the
about a day and a
fair.
half before the fair, she come back and said it was gonna be 7,000.
which agency is this?
Kozlowski. And then Skip says, well, we really don't need the tractor pull insurance because the NTPA has their own insurance coverage for everybody in the infield. And then they come back and said it didn't make any difference, it was $7,000. We will be shopping around next year for different insurance.
And it was too late to get any other quotes.
Yeah, it was too late. Yeah, 'cause she
90
talked,
90 days, they said before they would
Yeah.
even think
Skip
about.
talked to Tara Wheeler that works for American Family, and she said there's no way you can get insurance within 24 hours before the fair.
It's disappointing that it was that short a notice and
Yeah.
that drastic a change.
Yep.
And did they have a justification for why this happened or
Nope.
just? was it
Insurance
arbitrary?
companies don't need a
Yep.
justification.
Skip even told him, he says, you know, we only get 9,000 of the county to run the fair and you're taking 7,000 of it.
Just for insurance, yeah.
Yep, he just, but you know, they
They didn't seem to care, did
They
they?
didn't care.
And as we all know with our homeowners insurance and so too, that is just skyrocketed as well too.
Yep. Yep.
I know a person that has a 10-year-old home that's real, brand new 10 years ago, and he got his last premium notice and he canceled his insurance. He's going without insurance.
Self-insured, yeah.
Yeah, that was my,
Otherwise, the fair went really great, well,
Good for.
the Saturday night one went well.
Saturday night went well, Thursday night went well,
Jesse,
Friday
who,
night went well.
Jesse,
Jesse Moffett, yeah, he started late because the shows all went late.
no, I was talking just for Jesse, the one that helped me sell tickets.
There you go.
She's from Ace.
Yeah.
She's wonderful.
Yeah.
Does all the interpreting for
Nice.
me. She was about a half hour late and I was beginning to panic.
They're already working on next year's, booking a different band that goes all over.
Okay.
They're gonna be more money, but you gotta book them way ahead because they're busy.
I only had one person tell me it was too high price.
And
And
that's what they said.
a lot of people thanked me for having them there. So that's a good addition to the fair.
And the JC said this was their highest sales ever.
I could imagine.
Here's fair.
And it wasn't on Thursday night. It was Saturday night.
Wayne, I had a question on that vandalism. When is that occurring? Just late night or something or?
I'm not even sure when it happened and I went in there and I seen it was
I
broke.
mean, if we're gonna remodel or whatever we're doing there,
Yeah.
do we need to place an attendant nearby to stop the vandalism? I mean, I hate to see,
Cameras or something.
well, cameras don't stop it. They'll find the person.
Bathrooms don't go too
Yeah,
well.
yeah, that's.
Outside-
You put it by the door, that's.
You know what I mean? I hate to see, you know, spend a bunch of money on it and
Yeah.
then they're still vandalizing it.
Between metal and plastic, it's a big difference in price. Your poly's a
Right,
lot cheaper
but then
than.
like say, if,
So
we
are
have
they
to have
gonna,
volunteer attendants or something standing there, you know, during the fair to, you know, they won't, if there's some adults standing there, they won't do that. So anyway, just a thought.
Was it porcelain broken off or what?
no, it was a stall. Wall.
The stall wall got pulled down.
Yeah, they knocked one right into the other one.
By the time fair ended, there was only one tool that was working, right?
Yeah, they were plugging them up.
Breaking them.
Yeah.
Yep. I did get more than that.
Bunch of porta potties out there.
Well, you have to go backwards.
Well, I mean,
Potties, but
you can't let them destroy it.
Exactly.
That's going backwards, but it's
I know,
probably the
but
only way
you
to.
still can't destroy things.
Obviously, the blue building is used year round. And,
No, I mean, that was.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
just a comment,
yeah, I
but
know.
like I
I
say, we
agree.
can't remodel and then let them destroy it
destroy
every
it.
time. Yeah.
Anything else, Wayne? Thank you.
nope.
Wayne,
Yep.
We have a citizen coming.
yes, we do. It'll be in 15 minutes.
Have anything else you want to do or you want to take a break?
Mr. Chairman, we could do the Affordable Housing Committee. That'd be all right.
Okay, let us know what you need.
Just basically, this goes back to, remember the a video with Kimberly Peterson from Rebuilding Together Minnesota. She reached out again to see if the county's interested in this. We do have housing funding that we're receiving from the state. In 3 years, in 23 and 24, we received about 86,600, and 25 will get basically half of that at 36.4. So we'll have about $207,000 in the affordable housing that the state is sending out to all counties. And as looking to use that for something, I liked what they presented to us. They've got some ideas to help around here. We don't have, SMOC is not doing this anymore to my knowledge, though there's a void here. And I think in the county that using some of this money for this, they're proposing to use about half of our money for their project. The other half would be ours. We could put it in some sort of a housing trust or do other projects, that type of thing. But they want, we do any of the scenarios that they gave us, but biggest thing I just want to do today is just get a couple commissioners on this so we can actually sit down, review the information, talk with Kimberly more, and bring back a good recommendation to the county board what we want to do. Recommended, since we have Doug and Dan on Southwest Health and Human Services, that might be a good place for it too, as we're helping families and that type of thing. If you guys would be up for that, that would be great.
If I remember this right, that they have really the people and resources in place to use the money.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
We're just-
Yeah, they're already in business. And Rock County, Murray County, Nobles County, Cottonwood, Jackson, most all of us around them are using this organization now for their housing needs and housing repairs and benefiting low-income housing. People get things fixed, repaired, whether it's the house itself, HVACs, whatever they can do to do this. And they get funding from the state as well. I figured this would be a good use of our funding to get going with this group anyway. So we have something here again.
You mentioned the tie-in with
I'd be
SMOC.
okay. I mean,
Yeah,
I'd be okay being on the meeting if.
yeah,
or
I
at
was
the
happy
meeting,
as well
excuse
too.
me.
The tie-in with SMOC, if you guys recall, we discussed this a few meetings ago. I was the one that says, well, let me find out the SMOC, because like I said, we used to do that. So I did check with the board down there and our director, Darcy, and she said, no, that SMOC is not in a position to get back involved in this. Not only that, but the other counties, you mentioned that they are already working in other counties, and I got really good comments from the other commissioners about this. So I feel very comfortable with this.
Does SMOC still have the weatherization program?
Not really, no.
Oh, yeah.
Not
Not
such
like
a
it
transit,
was.
not like it was. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's coming back or not, but yeah, I'd be willing to serve in this as well too. So
We need a motion for that?
Yes, please.
I'll move.
Move that. Okay.
Second that.
That sounds great. If you guys are agreeable to it, that's a easy vote then. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Carried.
So you let us know when we organize.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll meet and then we'll come back with a recommendation. We'll meet with Kimberly, either Zoom or in person, and so you can get all the information so we can make a good decision on this, what we want to do with it. So,
Great.
perfect. Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, if we could, we do the appointment for the ditch committee.
Which ditch committee now?
Well, it's the only ditch we have. Our ditch committee, judicial ditch number one. Not the Murray County Ditch Committee or anything like that. This would be
I'm
ours.
on the Murray County ditch, I think.
Yeah, you're in that one. So, recommendation, from the ditch committee, we met last week. John Schaefer is retiring off of the committee, long-term member of that. And recommended that, Mr. Larry DeYoung be appointed to the ditch committee. I did reach out to Larry after the meeting. He agreed to do that. So bring a recommendation to appoint Mr. Larry DeYoung as a member of the ditch committee.
Mr. Chair, I'd make that motion.
Is there support for that?
I will second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Carried.
Thank you. Just for information, the ditch committee, I was planning on levying $10,250 for 2025, same amount they did last year. And there are a couple projects that the Road and Bridge Department is working on that will working in the ditch, an area up by Holland and also out by John Deere as well. They've got a couple projects they're working on. They'll be replacing some culvert lines going in under the road and into the ditch. So replacing some of the old metal and concrete with some dual wall plastic, the way it sounds. They'll be replacing some of that.
Larry who?
Young.
DeYoung.
DeJongh.
I had DeGroat in my mind.
Okay.
Speaking of the ditch, I know Luke and I had talked about this a little bit as well. You know, all of the water flood event down in Rock Rapids, Iowa and Rock Valley, Iowa, you know where that river starts. Starts right up in Luke's backyard there. So it's, usually you think of these rivers being so far away, but this is really a pretty short run.
Okay.
Fortunately, that's not feeding the judicial ditch.
No, that goes a different direction in our ditch. Yeah.
All I've got for now.
Okay, let's take a recess till 10 o'clock.
Recording.
Hey, it's 10 o'clock. We have two gentlemen. Come on up.
Good morning, Chairman, board members. I'm Alan Lysdahl. I'm from Wadena, Minnesota. This is my friend Dan Tater. He's also from Wadena. He actually was an employee for the county here back in the 70s. But anyway, I'm really glad to be here to introduce to you something that I feel is going to be of great benefit, not only to Pipestone County, but the whole state of Minnesota. This all started back in March, early March, when I found out about an event at the Capitol called Trappers Day at the Capitol. And I thought, well, I'm a trapper. I'll go show my support. And I had some bobcat hunting issues and some timber wolf management issues that I wanted to talk to some legislators about. So I made appointments with a couple of representatives and my senator. And but in the meantime, in between the time that I found out about that event and when I actually got down there, I started thinking that, I do have these issues I want to talk to them about, but on a bigger level, what is really important is the fact that there is an unchecked concentration of authority in the state that is detrimental to citizens outside of the Twin Cities area. I thought, well, what can be done about that? So I went to the tried to find out why the founding fathers thought it would be a good idea to have a bicameral legislature. Why do we have a bicameral legislature? And when I read the reasons for it, I thought that's just pure genius. You have the House of Representatives based on proportional representation. The numbers of people, more numbers of people you have, the more representatives you have. But the Senate is based on equal representation. So it makes sure that the volatile whims of the masses do not oppress the rights of the minority. And so each state then has an equal say in the Senate. So then I looked at how the legislature in Minnesota is made up. And yes, the House of Representatives is based on proportional representation. You know, more people you have, the more representation you have. But so is the Senate. So in the state of Minnesota, we have a pure democracy. Pure democracy at the state level is not a real good thing. It's like a lynch mob where the majority gets their way and it doesn't fare well for the minority. Or it's like two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for lunch. It just doesn't fare well for the minority. So I thought, well, how can we change that so that we can have majority rule, but we can also have the rights of the minority be protected. So I thought, well, if we could reconfigure the Senate to where each county has one senator, then we would have equal say distributed all across the state of Minnesota. Because the way it is right now, Hennepin County has 15 senators in that county. Ramsey County has 8 in their county. So between those two counties, they have 23 out of 67 senators. Almost half of the representation comes from the Twin Cities area. How many senators live in Pipestone County? None. Senator Weber lives in Laverne. So Pipestone County proper does not have representation in the Senate. What you have Senator Weber's vote, but only 1/9 of his vote comes from Pipestone County because he's shared with 9 counties. This way, if we could reconfigure the Senate to where there's one for each county, there's one senator, Pipestone County would have the same amount of influence in the Senate as Hennepin County or Ramsey County. And that way, they would have to listen to what each county has to say. Because right now, the majority, they know they don't need to pay attention to what the minority has to say. And when the sovereignty of our vote gets debased to that point of it's to irrelevancy, we are that much less of a citizen. But when we reconfigure the Senate to one county, one senator, we will have a voice that they will have to pay attention to, no matter who the majority in the legislature is. This is not a Republican versus Democrat issue. This is not a Twin Cities versus Greater Minnesota issue. This is about a Minnesota issue, a better form of government that will benefit all of Minnesota. Because believe it or not, the Twin Cities, they are not always in the majority, and they will want to have these protections as well when they are not in the majority. And there's several other things that so when this becomes law, when this becomes part of our Constitution, every bill that gets introduced will have to be passed by a majority of the people in the House, but then it will have to be passed by a majority of the counties in the Senate. What this will do, it will provide a checks and balance where the Senate and the House, even though they have to work together on issues, they will be independent of each other. Because right now, they're just a redundant extension of themselves. And why do we even have 2 houses if they're based on the same proportioning? So what this will do, it will provide a restraint on the majority, so the volatile whims of the masses do not override the rights of the minority. And I'm not asking anything from you all right now, except that when you talk amongst your colleagues, don't just seek consensus, but be a molder of consensus to a better form of government that makes every voice in the state a a valid voice that needs to be heard. And that is all I have for you. And I really appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you about this. Oh yeah, I take that back. Representative Mike Weiner is drafting a bill right now that he will introduce this next legislative session to amend the Constitution to make one county, one senator part of our Constitution. So that's in the works. Once this becomes introduced and I have a bill number, I will probably come back and then ask you to adopt a resolution in support of it. But until then, I just wanted to inform you about this, that it's in the works, it's coming, and it's for a better Minnesota and a way to make all of our voices heard in the legislature. Thank you.
That's one of the questions I had is how does that get accomplished? But you answered that in your last statement. And
Okay.
there is a senator that's advancing this.
No, Mike Weiner is representative of District 5B.
Mike.
Mike Weiner, Winer.
Okay. And he's 5B.
5B, yep.
It would be a long process.
Yeah.
5 years or more probably to amend the Constitution.
Can the Constitution be amended through a referendum?
Okay, what the process to amend the Constitution is a bill has to be introduced and it has to pass the majority of the House and the Senate. The governor does not need to sign it. And then it will go on the ballot in a general election for the people of Minnesota to vote on.
So there is a procedure to amend the Constitution.
Yes.
Dan, you had a question?
Talked about the Senate. What are your thoughts as far as the House?
The House will remain the same. This way, we will have proportional representation, majority rule in the House, representing the people statewide, but in the Senate, then it would be the counties that would be, like I said, every bill would have to be passed by a majority of the House and the majority of the people in the House and a majority of the counties in the Senate. So the House would remain the same as it is right now.
It'd be similar to Congress.
Exactly. That's what this is all based on. Our US Congress has been doing this since its inception. Yeah. And it's been the gold standard worldwide as far as good forms of government. So
Alaska and Wyoming only have one representative in the federal government, but they have 2 senators.
Right.
And fortunately, the states with the big population have many.
Yep.
Senators, but they have 2 senators.
And of course, we hear some naysayers from the large areas say, well, that's not fair. They shouldn't have 2. Yeah.
this was all hashed out during the Constitutional Convention back in the 1700s. And it was a long debate. It wasn't an easy process back then. And we're going to be facing the same things now. But when you look at majority rule with minority rights, it's really the only fair way of representation that there is.
Are there any other states in the union that have got 1 senator from each county?
No, there aren't. No.
It's all set up very similar to the way we are right now.
Yes. Yep.
1 or 2 that only has 1 house.
Nebraska is the only.
Yeah.
One house, yeah.
We have 67 senators right now, you said?
87.
67 senators?
67 senators, yes.
And this would be 87
Yes.
for counties.
And people say, well, aren't we supposed to be about smaller government? Well, you're adding 20 senators. But when I think of big government, I don't think of that. We're adding 20 senators, which adds more representation. To me, when I think of big government, I think about how intrusive is government on my life? How much money are they taking out of our wallet? How much are they eroding our rights? And that to me is what big government is about. Eroding our rights and taking money out of our wallets. That's not what this is about. This is about adding representation to the areas of the state where it's really lacking now.
Ellen said that the founding fathers' actions were sheer genius, but I think it was sheer desperation because there's no way they were gonna pull those colonies together until they agreed that, yes, you all have one vote in the Senate, or two, as it turns out. But otherwise, there never would have been government never would have been pulled off in the first place because of the reasons that he explained. It's like, okay, the little states would just get beat up by the big one.
And there's Chief Justice Earl Warren, back in the 60s, he said that there comes a time when what we thought was reasonable representation schemes become archaic and outdated. And I think that's where we're at right now. Our current representation scheme is outdated. It needs to be revised. And I think this is a way to do it.
There are other states that are having the same issue with Oregon is having, and Colorado is, that this would be a solution for them also.
Right. And I don't know if you're familiar, but there was a Rocks and Cows bill that was introduced where, you know, parts of Minnesota were to secede to the Dakotas. And it's like, I mean, it's a solution, but it's not a solution that I'm in favor of. I don't want to see division. This would bring unity. This would take the state of Minnesota and bring it together. In Governor Walz, he said that he wanted to unify Minnesota. Well, none of that has really happened. But this would go a long way in uniting the state of Minnesota.
What kind of support do you think you've got?
Excuse me?
What kind of support do you have at the state level to get this through?
You mean in the legislature? That I'm not aware of. I'm not sure of that.
At some point in time, they'd have to vote themselves out of a job.
Yeah.
That's a tough thing to.
But not if we can get, like I said, a resolution and get it passed by the people to make a
And
constitutional.
And get it on the ballot.
Yes.
The only way.
But if you're adding people, you're not really putting anyone out of a job necessarily.
Right. You wouldn't be.
Oh.
No,
One of
the House.
Senators from Hennepin County is not gonna move out here and represent
right.
us.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
The House of Representatives numbers would stay the same.
Senate that would change. It's very interesting concept.
The Senate would actually
thought-provoking.
would increase in numbers. It would go from 67 to 87.
The Rocks and Cows thing does indicate, you know, kind of a level of desperation
Yeah.
that we're almost at, like the founding fathers, where it's like, you know, there are probably 5 different states that have entertained the idea of dividing or separating or joining somewhere else because the rural areas are so totally dominated by Actually, in Minnesota, I thought that the whole metro area was liberal.
But they're not.
They're evenly divided except Hennepin and Ramsey. And so it's like 2 counties with that many 16, 25 representatives, whatever, decide everything.
And Chairman Roskamp, you mentioned other states, and I have friends in other states, and they all express the same frustration that the cities where the majority of the people live are telling the outstate what to do. And
They're giving us mandates and not funding them.
exactly. And really, I mean, it's possible that the people understand from the Twin Cities area, understand what it's like to live in Pipestone County. But is it reality? Not so much. No, unless, you know, I mentioned the Timberwolf issue. I bet there's people that the only reason they know that there's Timberwolves in the state of Minnesota is because they were told that there are. They wouldn't know a wolf track from a deer track. But yet they still want to tell us how to manage them. And that's not, I'm sure there's issues that are unique to Pipestone County that Twin Cities legislators cannot understand. Well, you just drive around here and look at all the ag land here, and then look at who the head of the ag committee is in the House. Representative Vang, I don't think she's done much farming in her life. God bless. But yet they decided that she is the one that best represent agriculture in the state. And that's not the way that works. Unless you're intimately involved with it, how can you make these decisions? Or this way here, one county, one senator would definitely make the senator very intimate with the issues of the county, and two, very intimate with the people of the county. It'd be more like one of the constituents coming up to you all and talking to you rather than some distant legislator from parts unknown.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Well, we appreciate you coming, and it's a novel concept.
It was an honor to be able to come here and do this. I appreciate your time. And like I said, when you're talking amongst your colleagues, don't just look for consensus, but be a molder of consensus. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
More from you on this as it goes forward.
Thank you very much.
Thanks again. I think I've been with Ellen to about 5 different counties, and you are far and away the most interested and attentive and more interaction and whatever, you don't seem to be in a hurry. And we've enjoyed it.
Good.
Thank
Yep,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Is our sheriff available?
10:30, you want to try reports, committee reports?
We can start them.
Chairman?
We'll see some when sheriff shows up. I was trying to spare the press the agony of committee reports.
A good start.
Luke is gonna start.
Okay. On the 9th, Area 2 and RCRCA met, they have ongoing projects, and we reviewed the audit for RCRCA. On the 10th, District 8 land use, they talked about a lot of flooding damages, especially in counties south and east of us. And new wind and solar projects were going where transmission is available. On the 11th, went on the SRDC project tour and annual meeting. They did discuss many new grant opportunities available to local businesses and or government entities, especially toward energy savings related projects. And they also had some grants available for like smaller cities or townships that would cover engineering costs if they are having a hard time funding, to get a project started, but they don't have the money to, do the engineering to lead up to whatever. They had some grants available to cover that. On the 15th, we had our solid waste committee meeting here. We discussed maybe needing to increase the solid waste assessment to make sure that the fund doesn't go on the red in the future. We'll bring that to a future board meeting, but we're currently well below, if not, most of the counties, if not all in our region. And we provide better service currently since we don't charge additional for hazardous waste disposal, including electronics and appliances. Most of the other places, well, all of the other places are charging additional fees beyond their higher solid waste assessment fees, so double dipping like some are. On the 22nd, we did MRC policy platform review for environment, natural resources, and public safety. On the 23rd, of course, we had our hospital board meeting. On the 24th, we did MRC policy platform review for transportation and infrastructure and health and human services. On the 25th, Prime Health, we have approximately a 5% increase for our health insurance for next year. And then after that, they let me do a Zoom meeting so I could finish up the MRC policy platform review for general government. On the 29th, at our Southwest Regional Solid Waste meeting, 10-year plans nearing completion. but with little direction from MPCA regarding future demo rulemaking. The board's feeling a little frustrated, but wait for them to decide what they're gonna do. On the 31st through the 2nd, went to the MHA trustee conference and trustee council meeting. Dan was recognized for his advanced certification. And by year end, due to the fast track program, all members of this board will be certified, and 4 of the 5 of us will have our advanced certification. So that's pretty impressive for an elected board. And on the 6th, we had our ditch committee meeting and we already made the replacement. Levy will be the same as last year. On the 7th, Highway 23 Priority Projects Committee met with the MnDOT staff on the Wilmer bypass. We're already seeking congressionally directed funding and a TED grant through the state. The Quarters of Commerce has no money since the bonding bill died. They need local match dollars, and of course, counties can't afford to dish out millions of dollars for a state highway project, so we're trying to figure out a way to come up with some additional funding. But what's really a bummer is the cost estimate of this 2.5 mile project has ballooned from about 8.7 million to over 16 million. And I know a certain amount of this is probably due to the increased environmental things they have to do, just like with that project by New London that did get funded. It went from 20 some to, by the time they gave it funding, to 30 some million. And just to do extra environmental studies or whatever they have to do, it doesn't make sense to me. But the only good thing is they did mention that at least the project would be concrete, so that was a plus. On the 8th, we had the Soil and Water District meeting. The SRAM project was approved and otherwise fairly routine. And yesterday we had plant ops at the hospital. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Doug, you ready?
Yes, for my July report, on the 9th, regular board meeting, the 11th, soil and water, at our meeting. 17th, Southwest Health and Human Services, Marshall. And the 29th, Building and Grounds Committee, which was a lot of Wayne's discussion we had talked about there. And I missed the hospital meeting and the other board meeting. I was out of town.
Good. Thank you. Guys ready? Okay. Okay. I can do mine in a minute then. July 9th, regular meeting. July 18th, Plum Creek Board, Library Board. We have some people retiring. It's an old crew over there, but we're hopefully getting some new people in. Edgerton Library Director has retired or resigned, and they have a new one hired there already, so. 19th Fair Board, Wayne talked about the insurance going up from 600 to 7,000. Did anybody get to the DOT booth? That was on Wednesday.
Flyer on it, about the
Week later,
75.
about a week later.
Yeah.
It might have been.
That's when they all showed up
Was
in
it?
Edgerton.
And it already started, yeah.
It was way done.
Yeah,
It was
And
done.
flyer.
I got mine about a week after it happened.
yeah, it was just ridiculous.
I was out of town, so I did not go. I wanted to have some questions for him, but. 22nd Rural Minnesota Energy Board. We toured the second line project up from Brookings to east. They had that power line up for years already and they only put wires on one side. Now they're putting wires on the other side. So we got watch the helicopter work. Amazing what they can do. And going up to the Minnesota conference, I kept looking for the rest of that power line and it ends up, you crossed it once before you go to Grand Forks, once north of Marshall. So they got a lot of work to do, but a lot of miles to do. 23rd is regular meeting and hospital board meeting. 24th was fair board again. 29th, Missouri River Watershed Partnership, JPB. That was sat in for Luke on that one. That's my report. We're ready for you guys.
Morning.
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 It's okay. I think we'll do the jail budget first, because then Tyler can help out.
Would help if you give us a page number.
66.
That's very nice. This-
Yeah, see, we have.
Well, good morning. Hopefully I'm fairly quick with you here. Didn't have any outside of, I should say, outside of salary changes, didn't have any major, increases. The two biggest outside of salaries, if you go down to professional services, which would be line 6260 for me. This year we budgeted 85,000. Doing the math, this year we're gonna spend about 78,000 on our medical contract alone. Built into that contract is wording that at their discretion, they can raise rates, I believe it's 3 to 5%, just for inflation, added cost of stuff going up. So if we play it safe and add the 5% increase, next year it'd be about 82,000 just for the medical. So that 95 gives us an extra 13,000 for any ER visits, clinic visits, and that type of thing.
We discussed the prisoner boarding. That's
Yep.
this shot in the dark.
That,
A couple murder cases that, we've been farm people out a little bit, but we don't know that until we do it, so.
yeah, that's actually the next one. I think that's the next biggest increase I had was up about 4,500 on the boarding prisoners, and that is, as the sheriff said, a complete shot in the dark. We don't truly know how many people we're gonna have to house out or for how long. We do know, or we have a feeling that we're gonna have a couple probably for a while that we're gonna have to house out somewhere, so.
Excuse me, I'm gonna have to step out. I got somebody at work I gotta deal with.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you.
Outside of that, I didn't really have any major budget changes. Do you guys have any questions? Say for the jail budget seemed mostly to be salaries more than anything, so.
Oh, where are you at with contracts with law enforcement?
For the annual contract?
For the annual contracts.
People bring that up when we
Yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah.
This doesn't affect that at all, the jail. That's ours.
Separate budget.
Well, if you guys don't have any questions.
Board know about salaries, what's going on next year. There were no step increases this year. And we'll be in the second year of the contracts with all of our unions. So there will be step increases and 4% salary increases worked into the pay plan for 25. So these salaries and benefits do reflect that. And I'm sure just like you and
And just to show.
Tyler know, overtime is a shot in the dark too. You don't
We
know
don't-
what's gonna happen.
Staff, I just said last week, it was so nice and.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we will be
So-
looking to hire again, get another one in, so.
Always training and stuff. It's
Yep.
just, you just don't know.
Yeah.
Well, since if I remember right, last time you had a few good applicants too.
We can-
Hopefully some of them have interest.
And from your exit interviews and so forth, wage wise, we're competitive. We're not out of the norm.
Yet.
He's not leaving for wages.
No, it isn't.
South Dakota, you
Yeah.
guys are a lot.
Head
higher
to shoulders,
than-
head to shoulders above, yeah. Well, we do. We realize it's a labor market. We have to make sure that we don't want to be the highest, we don't want to be the lowest. We want to be competitive. We want to reward our good people, but we also,
I feel with this new contract, we're right in where-
in that sweet.
I
spot.
do too. I
Good,
do too.
good. And that was kind of my question, and where we sit in that, so good.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We'll vote to cut it after you leave.
All right, sounds good.
Want to do a 911, Steve? That's kind of a quick, easy one.
Sure, that's fine. Page 74. Packet.
Thank you.
So this, where we get that $160,000 in, and we don't know exactly, because we're looking at the dispatch. Hopefully this year, probably will be next year, the way things go. It's coming and stuff, but I'd say what 90% of that will be covered by this restricted money that we already have. There's always something else comes up with, but it should be, most of it should be covered with this funds in here, so this. That sure helped when they doubled that from 80,000 to 160,000 here. For now, that's what they're gonna keep it at, but they could change that tomorrow, who knows?
For the board's information, if you look down about halfway down the page on 74, you'll see 282, 62, 50 says equipment over 10,000. If you draw a line underneath that to the edge of the page, everything below that is restricted funding for this. And that's where that 160,000 comes in, and that's where the funds get paid out. Those are not levy dollars on the bottom part of this. So the only county levy dollars are the ones that are above that 2756. I think there's not a lot in there. We get a little bit of reimbursement and not a lot of expenses going out of that anymore.
And the guy in charge of this for the state now was the sheriff in Nobles County, so we have a real good relationship with him. So we use everything we possibly can with the restricted funds. We can't do labor. There's things we can't do, but pick up the phone, call him, and he gives us an answer, and we work really well with him. So that really makes, before we were guessing, and now we just have a phone number. We call him and say, hey, can we? Tells us so. So that's gonna help a lot that he's in that position.
Where do your radios come out of?
They can't use radios in this budget, so that's one thing they don't allow radios either. Pretty well anything at the dispatch center, they cover pretty well, but no vehicle radios or personal radios or anything like that.
So the money that we're getting from the state is for, if you didn't know, it's from the cell phone tax.
Yeah.
Right, so state used to take a good portion of that and associate it with state things. Then legislation passed 2 years ago that's how we went from 80,000 to basically 160,000. They're gonna send that out to the counties for more reimbursement. But that's where them dollars come from, and that's why they're restricted. And pretty much the restriction limitations, the easiest way to put it in Reader's Digest version would be anything that the PSAP, the dispatch center, needs to be able to communicate in and out of that building with, or communicate to first responders, fire, EMS, law enforcement. If it's dispatch related, its funds are covered. So subscriber radios, these things, no,
That's not part of that.
dispatch council, yes. Dispatch remodel. It's the broadest way to put it without getting too narrow.
And we work with the bill because we were taking money out, a portion of a wage to help with this, with Bridget's wage. Cause he works up there a lot, and we can't. So what we can do is, like when Sean comes, we can take his bill and add it to this. So we're gonna try to figure out how to make
That's
that.
contract separate.
Yeah, contract, it's not separate.
With the 911 dispatch remodel, I know we talked before about how you're gonna physically make that work with the remote one and so forth. Are those dollars figured into here as well too? Cause there'll be a cost involved in that.
Yeah, what's helping us is we moved that third position already out to the squad room for people to sit at or who's ever working out there.
So that might be able to.
It won't be quite as easy because we only have one spot, but we'll be able to use, they won't have to go to Murray County or anywhere.
Yeah.
They'll be able to dispatch right from there, so.
Nice.
That'll save. Make all of them happier to nobody wanted to.
No.
I understand.
Well, and for the continuity.
We talked about getting that truck, we could use that
Mhm.
from Marshall, that radio board truck.
Right.
But this will work so much better now we got this set up ready. So Wouldn't be any extra cost with that. We've been talking with Bill about pulling the new wires and all the old wires out, so he's over the board.
Yeah.
All with our discussions.
Cause we need desks that go up and down and screens that go up and down. All that stuff is what I'll put that in, so. 5 years, probably.
2000 to 2001 is what the current setting. Jason Yost put that council in there now, and that was 2000 or ish, 99, 2000. So I mean, it's been around for a
It's
while.
worked. We're out of room for screens now and
We've made
stuff,
it.
so.
IT's struggled at times to make the infrastructure work because we get more screens, they get bigger,
Mhm.
but we've just made it work. But now we're kind of at the point where we get.
So if you're looking at getting the lift desks and stuff
Yep.
you mentioned,
Yep.
yeah, I recently at work within last year, we switched to all lift desks too, and it makes it easier for the wiring and everything. too.
Yeah.
Well, it really helped open things up for you guys too.
We're just in the process of vetting all that equipment now. I mean, it's been a long
We've had
process.
3 different companies so far they come in, so
Yeah, it's been
we've gone to a few places and looked at what's out there and.
Right.
We're gonna do it right.
probably shy of 2 years we've been working on. Just because it's kind of it's a big enough expense, but we want to get it right for
The next
Long
20 years,
time.
next
Needs
20
to
years.
last a long
20
time.
years, yeah.
So.
Which budget do you anticipate that those funds coming from for the remodel?
The 911, just about everything.
911's
Yeah,
pay
just
for
about
that.
everything.
I would think about 90% of it should,
Yeah,
one way, shape or form, come out
Okay,
of.
good.
and next we've been talking with
This.
Kent about that, what we can use and it pretty well.
Excellent, good,
About everything in that room we can use.
good deal.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that Kent had moved up to the state level. That's nice to have that
Yep.
county, especially going back to the Buffalo Ridge and all that stuff we've done with them before. It's nice to have that relationship.
And they.
Yep.
Instead of a number, you know, so. And he's been sheriff for.
Long
He
time.
understands.
Yep.
He understands the needs and stuff, so.
Well, thank you guys for your diligence on this.
Dispatch needs.
Go to. That would be page 63.
And this one basically the changed, like, jails, basically the salaries. Don't really change much. I think total between the contract, and I'm just guessing at the city number, because we haven't sat down with them yet for the city of Pipestone. But I think it's between, this is close to 5%, I think the other one's %. But that's, like I said, that's not, we haven't. That's, we talked about, you guys having to kind of figure that out, you know, so, but I had to put a number in. So.
The number you gave me, Keith, was 224,506,
Yep.
right? So if you want to pencil that in under the 5505, it says 170, 122 now. You see that?
Yep.
And last year was 217.
Yeah.
Or just about 2. What was the number again,
Steve? 224,506.
Again, like I said, just pretty well everything in there is up is related.
Mhm.
We do have full staff with dispatchers now. I shouldn't say that. And we see very little of that in remodel having to come out of this budget. I just don't see much of it at all. There's always something comes up, I suppose, but I mean.
Right.
When we did it, you said years ago, the last remodel, what did we use for funds back then? Do you remember? Did that come out of? At that point, we didn't have that 911 income.
One
was a little-
then, but there wasn't to the amount we're getting
This
this
now.
now. I wouldn't remember, maybe you,
I have no idea.
I just remember it happening. We
Yeah.
moved the dispatch center into the squad room.
But having this 911 resource is very
Yeah.
nice.
Oh,
Yeah, and it was a large thing to tackle last time since the building was built,
Right.
was that dispatch center, which was,
So we're on
This
about
was-
20 years.
yeah.
You're ready to move on to the bigger budget. That's the sheriff's budget.
Page 56.
Thank you.
So what I did with all the small towns, we talked about this last year. I gave a big increase last year because they got this funding for 2 years. Was in this year, no increase. Because they want like. So the small towns, no increase. And like the city of Pipestone, around 3%, whatever, we have in this That on price, that's what I put in for figure, so we had to have something in there, so. There's a few questionable ones in here, and Mike took the time to look them up, we could explain them to you, they all make sense when he looks them up. I know Steve sent the email about a couple of them that were just kind of out of whack.
So when we're looking at them, right, we're looking at 6 months, so take 50% budget, where are we sitting, right? Makes sense for 2025. And the first one that kind of stands out a little bit is, and I don't have page numbers to match yours, but it's 201 and then 6260 is the line item. Professional services. It looked to me to be a little bit lopsided to be 6 months in for this year. So I went through and what happened is, so Dan, the question you had about moving the dispatch part over to while we do this remodel.
In the squad room.
It was $4,400 to do that. And we hadn't expected that, okay, when we budgeted, because we weren't knowing what we're gonna do.
Mhm.
It's considerably less than what I was originally told. We were told 50,000 to move the dispatch center temporarily.
Right.
So this solution came a lot cheaper, but so if you take that off, we're really at 8655 as we knew the budget, if that makes sense to you.
Mhm.
And that kind of lines up with 25,000, 8,600 of it spent to date. So I mean, that's in line. It doesn't, because you'd look at that and you'd think 25,000, if you under budgeted 24 and you're spent that high already, why wouldn't you ask for more in 25? But that explains that, if that makes sense. The bigger one is 6302. We looked at that and went, whoa, where did, what happened there? Well, it was a miscoding and $17,925 got coded to 6302 and it should have been coded to 6343. So then that brings that amount year to date in line item 6302 to $517 for the year.
Yeah.
Way more in line with the 3,000 budgeted, if that makes sense.
But
And I'll
63
work with Mary and Amanda to get these altered, but there wouldn't have been time because you guys already had your report, so it wouldn't have mattered, right? So.
But 6343, even though it didn't have that 17,000 coded to it, we still went over budget by 6,000.
Well, if you add that 17,000, right.
Yeah.
So if you add 17,000 to the 14, so we've spent 14 and then you add the 17, we're still 8,000 under. But you have to know that most of our rentals and service agreements for the year is paid.
Oh, yeah, I was looking at 23, not at
If that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I was looking at 23, not
Our
24.
biggest one is LADG contract, and that's what I paid in January for the year ahead, so. Already been paid, so.
Does that make sense, Dan? Like,
Yeah, I was looking at the wrong column. I was looking at 23, not at 24.
and then to get further on to Dan's questions about the portable radios that we purchased this last year. Well, then, yeah, if you look at line item 6481, it says $62,000 spent. Well, we only budgeted 20. So what went? Well, $52,560 of that was in portable radios, which we used funding from the one-time state allocated law enforcement funds.
State law enforcement aid.
But obviously we took it out of this line item because we had to code it. And then we also bought a Jasper Fire Department radio for $3,574 out of that line item, but that, we didn't buy it for, they reimburse us back, but all the small communities need something. They use the contract the county has with Alpha Wireless because they get a cheaper discount, but then it shows in refunds and reimbursements at $3,574.
Yeah, so though you had the expenditure, you also had other income that came
So
in.
it looks
off
like,
that.
and some, that gets a little lopsided sometimes, kind of like when we wreck a car and you see repairs and maintenance, refunds and reimbursements with the insurance checks, right? So really, when you strip all that down, we're at $6,728 on that line item for the year. So that lines up with 20,000 reasonably budgeted for 24. So, right? That
Like,
makes,
did you see 6333 meals? That's kind of way off, isn't it there? 6333,
Meals and lodging.
you get 400 budgeted.
in there and,
Oh, I changed that to 50.
yeah, that'll put 15,000 in there.
Yeah, there's two of
Change
them,
that.
there was two of them that were somehow they got.
Kind of like a typo.
That's supposed to be 15?
Should be 15 and then, Rentals and service agreements below that, 6343, I believe should be 40,000.
Right.
Oh,
So 6343
okay.
should be 40.
Yeah, yep.
And just for your information, the public safety aid that we got actually came in at the end of 2023. And that was 173,471, and that's on page 56. So that aid already came in.
We're gonna take that 50,560.
for the radios.
If I was correct.
Yep, you were right. Yep, exactly.
So those numbers we always look at, right, that we're like, well, how do we get so far out? That there's always kind of and we've done a lot better, I think, over the years on our coding process of
Absolutely.
getting things more consistent. And it's a work in progress, but I mean, if like, Keith was
Mhm.
pretty adamant in making sure we try to get that done. And I think we're getting in the right direction with only having basically one bad entry we find at this point so far.
Right.
It's gonna happen over a lot of them bills, but
And we're set up now that we can print everything to see where the money came from, or we couldn't really do that before. We had asked for it and it's, we didn't bother it, but now we can, Mike can just go in there and print off so we
Yeah.
can see where these problems come
So I
from
got-
before.
yeah, I got access to IFS, so I can, just our reports, I can't
Yeah.
see anything else. And then when Keith has a question, we can just get it out, get it, look through the details.
We discussed 6651 possibly should move up 10,000. We don't know if that's vehicle purchase. We're at 50,000, we're gonna get to, both our vehicles should be worth 5,000 on trade-in probably, but that could be up 10,000 pretty safely to say probably. It depends what we can buy, what's out there. What our trade-in values will be, so. But that's one we kind of talked about that, yeah, it's possible.
This would be the time to change it if you want to.
Well, I mean, like
You know,
Keith,
We wanna be accurate as we can.
yeah, I mean, Keith put 50 in there and I don't think that's we just talked about it yesterday a little bit in reality of numbers of what we actually ended up spending in 23. Now that we landed the new 25 Ram just came this week, finally. And so, we're gonna get it tomorrow or the next day. So we know our costs now.
Right.
There officially with the trade-in, because all this crap, they don't do that, right? They don't give you a trade-in until the vehicle shows up. So we kind of looked at it and something I mentioned and what Keith and I talked about yesterday is if there was anything, maybe 10,000 more there. If we were gonna, be completely transparent and I think understanding what our trade-ins, and it's the trade-in difference. We just don't know where our
We don't
trade-ins
know.
are. And that depends on when the vehicle can land here. And if it's 12 months, then we got
A lot more
20
miles.
some more thousand on a vehicle than we would have had before.
It's kind of, 23 was 72,000. The reason for that was we didn't trade a car in, remember, we kept a spare because we're always short of cars, which is a great thing. 'cause
Which we
that
use
thing
it
all the
every
time.
week.
So that's why that number was cute. We kept one of the cars, we didn't trade it in, so that would have been another 20,000 off that or whatever, so. But it's nice to have that spare car, so.
How long did it take for that Ram to come in? That seems like,
February?
We ordered it in, no, it was
January?
January, February. after
it
we
seemed like a
found-
while ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, the
Just-
pickup that deputy's driving now, that's got another 10,000 miles on it,
Yep.
so
Mhm.
exactly when you do the.
They gave us an estimate about a month ago when they heard it was coming, when the truck was coming. And now we gotta actually finalize that. Well, tomorrow or Friday, when we drive down to get the other one, we'll take that one with us and.
And you found working through the state contract, it's been much better for us to work with our local dealerships in this area instead of try to work with the state.
They don't usually have any state bids anymore even.
They don't.
That we can get a hold of, they're only open.
Yeah,
It's just,
yeah, I mean,
for a couple of years, you just try to get a vehicle.
Yeah.
It might change. There's a lot of them sitting around the way it seems now.
I think buying locally yet for the cost of the vehicles and the versus state bid or whatever you wanna call the cooperative purchase venture, but. It still seems to us to believe that we're doing better by buying the stuff locally, the offset of. What we're getting in return for these vehicles at trade-in is more, we're keeping a residual value higher than what we would with the. And our bigger problem was the window was so small, we would order them, but then we would be told, well, you got it ordered, but you might get it next year.
They're not making them.
Well, yeah, it's like, well, we can't operate like that,
Well,
so.
that's really changed, Mike. I mean, remember years ago, you'd order a state contract and boom, it was nothing to it.
Okay.
now that's really all changed with, you can't get them and all that.
And it is nice from a commerce standpoint to try to keep that business in our reach as well too, and that.
Another big change is the very front page, refunds and reimbursements. We raised that a long ways, but we took away a lot of the stuff that really doesn't, stuff was getting put into state grants, state stuff that really doesn't match up, and it always ends up in refunds and reimbursements anyway. But I figured this year it's gonna be bad, but next year it'll work itself out.
5897.
Yeah. Next year that'll work itself out. Because some of the stuff there, it shouldn't go in.
And just for the board's knowledge and you guys too, right above that, the 5518 school resource officer. That should have a negative behind it. It's a positive right now, so it's actually looking like an expense in a income column, so I've got that circled for change.
School pays that.
Yeah. And the only other one question I had on 6481 for 20,000, that's okay, right? That's.
Yeah, so going back to that, then that was those portables,
Yep.
right, Steve?
Yep.
So.
Exactly, okay,
I will take 52,000 and
then we're good.
3,500, you get down to per today, like 6,700 is where we're really at if you take those. So I mean, I think we're sitting good there.
Make that.
We try to reuse all the equipment we can use from one vehicle to another vehicle too, so.
Mhm.
We just don't throw it all away and just put new in because we
Right.
want to. Sometimes we can't, but so that. Been working.
Yeah, years ago, we went from a Crown Vic to a Crown Vic to a Crown Vic.
Yeah.
It was pretty easy, but
Use the same stuff for.
now you see every squad there is out there. I mean,
Opioid settlement money. Is that part of your income as well too?
well, we have, right now, the, task force applied for it and got how much for that test? 30.
It was 32.
That tester,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we didn't apply for any this time. We know, not saying we won't next time, but
Right.
it would come into the refunds or reimbursements if we apply for something and win it and get it, so. But we haven't yet, like, so we thought we'd have the task force do it this. They need it.
And I talked to Dallas a couple times during that process too, when that was opening up and we just didn't have. I mean, we have needs for things, but wasn't like we could.
It wasn't gelled.
Well, it was, yeah, I don't know that we could have made it sound good for that application and then that's gonna be an ongoing funding.
It's an ongoing process, so.
Down the road, I can see maybe one dog retired, we got another one getting up there, maybe next year or 2 years. Put in for another dog, cause they've been covering them pretty well most of the time, so.
Picking up the vehicle tomorrow, you need a check for that too then? I think we've done auditors.
I don't think so.
Or did we vote on that already? I think we did.
I don't know. I don't know that.
Check into it.
Edison's
Voted
been
on
calling
already,
and
yeah.
talking with them. And I know our plan is to go get it tomorrow, but they could probably invoice us and. I mean, we do enough business locally with all these places. It's okay with, the biggest thing is just getting the paperwork going for their process of things.
Mhm.
And again, we don't know that until we know the trade-in value. Which we don't know until we get there physically.
Can't send you with a blank check.
We believe it or not, we do some candid talking when we start talking trades too. It's not just because we don't care. It gets a little interesting and we kind of treat it like it's our own, right? So
Well,
if there's a few $1,000s we can argue about, believe me, we do. So. But they usually, all the dealerships treat us really good, so.
And overall budget, I know it's up because of the salaries, but to me, that's a good thing. We needed that and the employees are very, very happy with it and too. So that's worth a lot. Keeping people's worth a lot, So thank you for that, yeah.
So we can have a little meeting with the city.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything?
Yeah, they're ready anytime. I did that a while back, a week or so ago. She said, yep, ready. You guys come in here first, go over it with our board, and then we'll come back to you guys.
Okay. Well, thank you for all you do for the county.
Thank you.
Yes.
When we go to meetings, we always ask, are you fully staffed? We say, yes, we are. How do you do that?
Go like this.
That's right.
You hire good people and you keep them.
Oh, that's worthwhile. We found that out.
For sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Culture that Keith's helped build up there too. Says a lot.
Top down, huh?
Absolutely.
And we're doing budget this afternoon too yet?
No, they moved.
This afternoon.
Okay, good. I had it on my calendar
Yeah,
originally for this afternoon.
that changed. We're doing it on the 22nd, doing a special meeting and we're gonna spend the day. Everybody should have a new, yeah, there's your.
Yep.
There's your updated schedule there.
I'm gonna miss that actual next two meetings that we have.
Second, she'll be gone also.
The 20th.
Thursday for the.
No, I'll be here for that. With the regular meetings, 27th, my oldest is getting braces and then the following, September 8th, 10th, scheduling conflict at work, vacation. So I can't get out.
Thursday, the 22nd, Luke has to be up at strategic planning meeting.
Yep, he mentioned he'd be gone.
And like I said, I just got a call from Dean Metz. He can't make it, want to know if I could go or not. And I don't think I'm going to. I think I'll stay here. So
I'll be here. I'm available for
he'll
that.
be here. So
All day.
okay. So I will be here on the 22nd.
Anything else, Steve?
Want to finish up with reports?
Yep.
I'll be pretty quick. It was a light month for me.
Chris, you're up.
Okay, on the 9th, I had the county board and then I had a Explorer Southwest Zoom meeting. I don't have really too many notes on that, but there was a photographer that went through some of the counties and did some blog posts and stuff like that. And that's really starting to pick up. They're really getting their things going. 7:15, I had a CPT executive committee meeting, just finalizing the roof replacement for their building there. 7:22 CPT full board meeting. I attended that on Zoom. Nothing really major to bring back from that, other than the paybacks that I've brought up to Steve. Bring us down to, I think, the 25,000 left, I think, after that, and then all the counties will be paid back for their initial investment into it, and that'll probably be 2 years later. So
And the roof is a go and they're all scheduled and all that good stuff.
yeah, yep, they have over 7.5 mil in their bank right now. So after the reimbursements, I think it's gonna be like two point something million. Oh yeah, they're fine. They're doing, have several million investments too. They're doing really well. Yep. Oh, the fly.
Spider.
Spider.
Where'd you come from?
Then on the 23rd, I had the county board in PCMC, and that's all I had for July.
Thanks, Chris. And the spider. You didn't bring that too, did you?
No, I did not.
Thought you're driving home a point. They do it.
I know.
No.
Where's your hammer? Egan?
Yeah. Hey. There, I'm ready now. I'm ready now.
Coming back.
For mine, the first one was on the 8th with the hospital. I think Luke had mentioned that. On the 9th, Explore Southwest. I was on that as well too. On the 10th, we had at PACE, Zoom. PACE is again part of the Rural Minnesota Energy Board. It's our finance part of doing remodels and so forth, energy efficiency models, sorry. And then also had a forward Pipestone meeting as well too, and that was with this RCCIP. It's this program for daycare. Excuse me, childcare. I keep calling it daycare. It's childcare. Also tonight, they're going to have their childcare appreciation supper for providers and so forth. I'll be at that. You'll be there too. Good. On the 11th, we had a Pipestone Area Coalition meeting then, and there are some changes underway with our presence in the school building itself. Jen has been, her office now is located out at Southwest Health and Human Services building of ours on the north end of town. Then she's no longer officed in the school itself. Also, we had our SRDC annual meeting that day. I wasn't able to attend that meeting. Annual meeting. The 12th Friday, then Southwest 18 Mental Health Consortium. They are still working on the new bylaws. The bylaws have been drafted and they've been sent up to Greta then. So Greta is doing a review of those and then they'll be coming to you, then Steve, to give to Domain as well. And I really feel, and I kind of mentioned at the meeting as well too, so many of the counties already have a relationship with Greta and she is so well known for her thoroughness. I don't see any big hiccups, but you never know if some county attorneys quibble over a T or an I being dotted or not, or whatever the case might be. Also then on that Friday, I had a Zoom meeting with SMOC and it was our 6-month review with Darcy Getzky, then our new director down there, doing a great job. In fact, all the goals that we had set, she exceeded those and she's got new goals set for the upcoming year. So been a real good change for us. That's been a relief. On the 15th, then we had our SMOC annual meeting down in Worthington where they had, also we had employees, department, not just departments, but all employees and spouses. And trying to build that relationship.
Got him now.
Yeah, you got him.
He's a monster. I always see what.
Sorry, did a brown recluse? No.
It was brown.
So yeah, we had our annual meeting down there, went well. On the 15th, Rural Minnesota Energy Board, we had an executive meeting and working on our budget. I got you those budget items as well too from that. The 17th, Doug mentioned Southwest Health and Human Services. That was a pretty standard meeting, again,
Yeah,
talking
it
about
was,
some of the
yeah.
changes. So again, mostly with the Southwest 18 Mental Health Consortium. And I was gone for a couple of days. That was fun. I enjoyed my fishing trip. Thank you guys.
Good.
For giving me a day off. I like that. On the 24th then, we had our Prime West Transportation Finance Group. I was able to Zoom that. I didn't have to drive up for that. And the transportation costs for medical, it's mind-boggling, some of the costs. One of the ones that really surprised me is these methadone clinics where the patients have to be there 6 days a week for oral medication and counseling. So they can't just use it at a regular dispensary.
It's
So
not overnight.
it's not overnight. That's the only thing it isn't overnight, but it's a lot of miles. And they put these trips out on bids through a software program portal. And there have been cases of people from Minneapolis bidding on these. So they're driving unloaded miles from Minneapolis to say St. Cloud to pick up somebody and then driving them up to like Duluth and back every day. And they get reimbursed, if it was $2 a mile for unloaded miles. It's crazy the money's being spent here. So that's what this finance group is all about, is trying to figure out what's going to be a more economical way of handling this. There's even cases too where for volunteer drivers, they've got volunteer mechanics that are doing mechanic work on volunteer drivers' vehicles to help entice people or reward people to help with that. Then we had, my next one was Sunday the 28th through the Pipestone Area Coalition. We had a pool party. I helped out with that down here. That was kind of fun with the kids. And the 29th, we had our building committee meeting we talked about. And the 31st, as you all know, we started with our hospital association. Also, I had a funding work group Zoom meeting I was able to do as I was on the road. And that funding work group again was in relation to the Southwest 18 Mental Health Consortium, trying to figure out how we're going to work that. Also with that mental health group, we found out that Simone from Des Moines Valley, that was her last meeting as well. She's retiring. So there'll be a change with that group. And that completed my July.
Thank you. In the minutes, you got the spider dead. You got the spider dead in the minutes?
Spider is destroyed.
Dispatched.
Thanks for saving me, Dallin.
Yeah, he was headed toward you.
I know.
Any other business to come before this board?
No, sir.
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Sir, second for that? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Carried. Sorry,
And,
Dan, you can give your report all over again.